Welcome to Family Gamer TV. Now, with the PlayStation 4 launching, there's been a lot of news about some games coming up for that platform that, although maybe aren't traditionally in the family camp, a lot of our viewers and our parents, particularly dads, have been enjoying. Uncharted 4 has just been announced for the PlayStation 4.
Some chains can never be broken. I lost 15 years, buried alive. Erased. You left me, rotting in that hellhole and never looked back. But you can't outrun the past. And when it catches up, when all your lies collapse around you, I'll be there, sifting through the wreckage. You owe me.
This is rather exciting. It takes that franchise that leans heavily on storytelling, draws in some of that sort of cinematics that maybe you'd normally attribute to a movie, and brings it with PlayStation 4 visuals. Now, all we have at the moment is this sort of teaser trailer, but we want to go through this in detail because there's quite a lot going on. So first of all, we hear the voice of Todd Stashwick. Now, he's narrating this part of our trailer, and he's the only voice we hear. But it seems to draw us back to some of the older characters in the sort of protagonist's past. And so as we hear about maybe Nathan's sort of misdeeds, as he's left this character lying forlorn and potentially forgotten, thinking he's dead. Now, there's some speculation that maybe this is a sort of a reboot of the Uncharted franchise and takes us back to a time before we're sort of tracking with Nathan Drake. I think it's more likely that what we're hearing here is the voice of an antagonist, a new foe for Drake to battle, and perhaps someone that he used to work closely with, but is now, is now sort of on the wrong side of having left them behind. Now, that prose, along with the setting here, the Madagascar and the southern tip of Africa, would maybe suggest that we're looking at some sort of high seas action. And certainly on the map of the trailer there, we see lots of shipwrecks. So for some, this brings to mind Francis Drake and his part in the Uncharted series so far. You know, he's been a character that Nathan has obviously had a close affiliation with, sharing a name, and has tracked with in the game. If we go back to one of the diary entries that Francis Drake left, I think it's in Uncharted 2, there seems to be some similarity to the story we're hearing in this trailer. My end is near, he says. The devil hunts for me in the darkness. The gold of El Dorado bears a terrible curse. The Spaniards have unleashed hell and become as demons. The men have been murdered, leaving the task to me alone. No ship will depart this island. I destroyed them all, drowned in the cursed city. A thing of such great evil must never leave these shores. In my final hour, I commend my soul to God. May he have mercy on this unholy place. So there, that diary entry that we read in a previous Uncharted game from Sir Francis Drake. Potentially there's some overlap there with the story, but here I think really we're seeing a different story, a different scenario, because it's not that he's trying to lock himself up in this place and would actually go down with the sort of the evil that he's unlocked. But actually this is a character who wanted to escape but was forgotten and was left behind, perhaps by Nathan Drake. I think what does ring true, though, is the geography that we're seeing in this trailer and the sort of the southern tip of Africa and Cape Agulhas, as is mentioned there, where the two seas meet and cause all sorts of potential for shipwrecks. It seems likely that as we sort of have a look at some of this footage from that part of the world, that we're going to see this kind of scene being recreated in this new Uncharted game on PlayStation 4. And certainly I should think that the Naughty Dog team will have been to these places, not only to sort of capture footage, get a feel for how the scenes need to look that they're going to be creating, but also to get textures and to take back some sort of assets ready to put into the game. So this, along with that leaked image that we saw in the Last of Us making of video, where you had these two pirate figures on a screen behind one of the developers, would suggest that we're going to have some sort of high seas pirate type action. But I suspect that is really only part of the story of this new Uncharted game. So rounding off, you have the overall feel of this trailer. It certainly is slightly darker, slightly more serious and weighty than we've seen from Naughty Dog Uncharted trailers of the past. There's no sort of wink and Sunday matinee feel to it as Nathan looks at the camera and sort of gets away with another henchman gunned down. This feels more like it's drawing on some of the things they've learned from producing The Last of Us. Now, this is a different team to The Last of Us. This is Amy Hennig, again, as there's a sort of story creative director, and Justin Richmond looking after the gameplay mechanics. And this is the way that Naughty Dog are working it. They have got these two teams and they're sort of tag teaming between them. So while the team who worked on The Last of Us has carried on, and we just heard about some new DLC for that game, this team has obviously been working on an Uncharted game for some time. But it seems like the flow between these two teams is obviously overlapping, and the weight and the feel of this trailer has certainly benefited from the weight of The Last of Us. And even if you look at the Uncharted logo here, it feels like it's drawing in the sort of slightly fragmented, fractured look of some of the branding around The Last of Us. Maybe the last piece of the puzzle is what's happening on Vita with Bend Studios, and whether they're working on a new Uncharted game, or whether they're going to be returning to their Siphon Fighter series. And it seems likely that we're going to see another Uncharted title coming out on the Vita. But potentially it could, overlap with this PlayStation 4. There's an awful lot of interaction between PlayStation 4 and Vita. That's certainly an angle that Sony are really pushing. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we see, along with this PlayStation 4 game, another one coming to the Vita, and perhaps some interplay between the two. Perhaps some back and forth, both in terms of control and characters, and maybe even storytelling. So there's lots more to find out beyond this teaser trailer, but this gives us a little insight into what's coming, a taste of how the game might feel. That's all we've got time for today on Family Gamer TV, but we'll be back with more soon.